to learn. I'm going to say Marco. You guys say Polo. You know the drill. Marco. Marco. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad y'all are here. So today we're going to be talking about population dynamics and something called limiting factors. And specifically, we're going to look how species and environments change, or species and environmental changes play a big role in the balance of nature. So some of the essential questions we're going to be looking at today is, how do limiting factors and carrying capacity impact survival? And how do human actions impact biodiversity? So the first thing we're going to do today, you guys all have a little sheet of paper. It's got 3 questions in it. So I want you to start by thinking of a group or a team that you're a part of or know about. It could be like a sports team or a family or your job or anything that works as a team. So think about how everyone in that group plays a role. Like, for example, this school acts as a team in the way that the teacher's job is to teach. So if the teachers were removed, y'all wouldn't really learn anything. And if the students were removed, who would we be teaching, you know? So on the sheet of paper, you're going to answer, what group are you thinking about? What team? What's a role in that team that exists? And what duties do they perform? What's their job? What are they doing? And then what would happen if that team member wasn't doing their job? What if we took them out of the team? They didn't show up, they're not there. What would happen to the other members? Would they be helped or would they be hurt? So y'all take like 3 minutes to answer that on your own, and then we're going to talk about it with our groups, then as a class. So I'm going to give y'all 3 minutes for that individually. Alright, so we all need to be writing down our answers, just getting something down on this paper. Good morning. You got your questions? What you wrote down. So just tell someone what group you chose, maybe what role you chose. So just take a second and talk about that in your groups. So just turn to someone and share.
He literally told me like one time.
So are you guys noticing you kind of have some similar answers? Maybe you talked about your job or your family. Alright, so what did you guys notice happened when you took a vital team member out of that team? Nothing? But was it maybe a negative impact? Like if I'm a cashier and I don't show up to my job, who's gonna check people out? Someone else is gonna have to do it. That's a negative impact. So what you got, Tristan?
Not really. They can have other people fill your spot.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're not there to do your job, someone else is gonna have to do it. That person's not gonna be happy. So, negative impact. What I'm trying to get y'all to see is if you take a key player out, typically there's a negative impact that follows. So, what I'm trying to get to is if you take an important player out of an ecosystem, you're gonna see pretty profound impacts on that ecosystem. So we're gonna watch a video in just a second that's gonna show y'all that. So if a key person leaves, the whole group changes, right? That's exactly what's gonna be happening in this ecosystem. So we're gonna look at wolves at Yellowstone. And as we watch this video, so make sure you're noticing what changed as the wolves came back, what changed when they were removed. How did that one species affect the landscape? And could this have happened without the wolves? So just really take notice what's happening.
Our planet is a lot less wild than it was when I began my travels. Here in the British Isles, over the centuries, we've long since turned our natural wildernesses into a tamed, orderly landscape. The same is happening right now across the globe. And this has consequences. A less wild world is a less stable world. And that is a world less able to support all species, including ourselves.
My name is Kira Cassidy, and I'm a scientist studying gray wolves. The Yellowstone area looks like a wonderful wilderness. America at its wildest. But in fact, until just recently, it wasn't truly wild.
In 1926, the last wolf pack in Yellowstone was wiped out. Without its top predator, the Yellowstone ecosystem was thrown out of balance. Elk numbers soared, and they overgrazed the plant life. This had knock-on effects throughout the ecosystem and reduced biodiversity. The park authority tried to manage the elk, but even culling them wasn't enough. It was time to bring back the wolves.
No one had reintroduced this kind of predator in the US before, but the wolves acted as if they'd always been here. Right away, they started hunting and forming packs. I think I have the best job in the world. I get to track the wolves. And that way we can see where they're going, but most importantly, we can find out what they're eating. We knew they'd reduce elk and deer numbers, but that was just a start.
With wolves about, the remaining elk and deer could no longer stay in one place for long browsing on the trees and shrubs. They had to keep moving. This simple change brought about a transformation. Berry bushes grew back, which helped the bears. Riverbanks sprouted saplings like aspen and willow, which retained the soil and changed the course of the rivers. This helped beaver populations, which in turn created pools that provided homes for more fish. Moose flourished with the returning vegetation, as did scavengers like coyotes, foxes and eagles, drawn to Yellowstone by the carcasses left by the wolves. The wolves had brought order back to the entire ecosystem.
It's now been 25 years since the wolves were released, and this area is the wildest it's been in over 100 years. Removing wolves was a mistake, and I think we should correct our mistakes whenever we can.
An ecosystem runs best when it has all its component parts. This also helps another of our Earth shots, to fix our climate. Because a healthy ecosystem means more plants growing more rapidly and capturing more carbon from the air.
We often think about our impact on the world as being pretty negative, but the Yellowstone reintroduction is an example of a really positive impact that we've had on the world. Every time I step into this wild place, I'm reminded that the biodiversity loss we see across the whole planet can be changed, and it can be reversed so quickly. Sometimes we just need to give it a little helping hand.
Alright, so how did we see that humans were impacting that environment?
They're not taking the wolves away.
So yeah, at first they were having a negative impact. They took those wolves out, they removed them, and they saw that it had really huge impacts on the whole ecosystem. There was no one to eat the grazers, so the grazers got out of control and they were eating all the vegetation, all the plants. And what do we know happens when you don't have plants? What happens to the air quality?
It goes down.
What do we see more of? Maybe carbon? So if we think back to photosynthesis and cellular respiration, if we don't have those plants adding oxygen back into the air and taking carbon dioxide out, then that air quality probably isn't great. But how did we fix that? How did the humans change that?
Put wolves back in.
Yeah, they made efforts to reintroduce these wolves so that we could fix the mistake that we made. And that's going to be a big thing that we see over the next few generations, is trying to fix mistakes that we made when it concerns our environments. So what changed when the wolves came back?
They started, the deer had to keep moving, so they let the vegetation grow up.
Yeah, they saw way more plants come in. They saw those populations get back in check, and they saw that whole ecosystem thrive and an increase in biodiversity. So what does biodiversity mean? What do you think it means? What does it sound like? So yeah, it does have to do with life, and it has to do with, so bio means life, and what does diversity mean? It means we've got a whole bunch of different types. So biodiversity means we've got a whole different bunch of types of life. So we have a lot of different types of life, and so we saw an increase in biodiversity because of introducing that wolf back. So the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna get you outside, but first I'm gonna give y'all some more examples of human impacts and limiting factors like we just saw. in that video. So there's also wolf reintroduction efforts in Europe. So they had the same issue. They took those wolves out, and now they're trying to put them back in because they saw how important they were to that ecosystem. They're a keystone species. That means that a keystone species is someone, if you take it out, it's going to affect everyone in that ecosystem. So another example could be land availability as a limiting factor. So a limiting factor is something that's going to limit that population growth. And because of limiting factors, we've got something called a carrying capacity. So a carrying capacity is the population or the amount of a certain species that an environment can support. So if we don't have enough water to feed all the animals, then eventually some of those animals are going to die because they don't have what they need. So we can see that all over Statesboro. We see a loss of habitat. We're cutting down trees for new apartments, new homes. And what's going to happen to the animals that live there? They don't have a place to go anymore. So we might see populations start to be smaller and smaller of certain animals. In the Mediterranean area, there's fresh water availability can be a limiting factor for foods like olives. And I know those are a really big thing all around the world. If they're limited and they can't grow them, then the price of olives is going to go up. Olives affects us. So another one, this is my favorite one. We've got a picture of the monarch butterflies over here. As winter ends, those monarch butterflies migrate to the United States from Mexico, and they lay their eggs on a plant called milkweed. But the milkweed availability acts as a limiting factor. So habitat loss due to human actions is a major concern. If we don't have that plant, there's nowhere for them to lay eggs, so they're not going to have a huge population. Yeah? What's up?
Take butterflies away, then.
Huh?
It won't really have a negative impact if you take butterflies away.
Well, you think that, but there's something called pollinators. And if we take away our pollinators, how do we grow food? So they're spreading the pollen from plants that grow food, so it would have an impact. Alright, so we're probably going to end up doing this activity after lunch, but we're going to go ahead and go over it because it sounds like a lot at first, but you're going to get it after like a couple rounds. It's something called Oh Deer. So we're going to go outside and pretend to be deer, and so part of you are going to be deer, and some of you are going to be resources. So we're going to have you standing in two teams. You're going to have your back to each other, and you're going to select, if you're a deer, what you need, and if you're a resource, is what you are. You're going to either hold up food, shelter, or water. So if I'm a deer, I'm going to stand here, put up what I want, turn around, and find someone that is also holding up that symbol. And I'm going to run and I'm going to grab them and bring them back to the deer side. And this is going to show us limiting factors and carrying capacity. That's what we're going to look at with.
Can I be the hunter?
The hunter? That was not a part of this game. So any deer that don't match up, you're going to die, and you're going to be a resource, and you're going to go over to the resource side. Does that make sense? Any questions? No, no hunters. Just resources and deer. I'm going to pause my video till after lunch. Turn around, backs to each other, and we're going to pick our symbols. It's either food on our stomach, water, W, or shelter above our heads. So pick your symbols. Alright, 1, 2, 3, go. Find your resource, bring them back, bring them back. Go, go, go. And we started this round with 3 deers. Now we've got 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got plenty of resources right now over here. So the deers aren't really struggling to find what they need. Alright, so everyone turn around.
Roar!
Turn around, select your symbol. What are you going to be this round? What are you looking for, deers? Alright, go. Bring them back. So we started with 6 deers. Now we have way more than 6 deers. We've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 deers. Alright, so I have a feeling this round we might start seeing that competition for resources we're talking about. So our resources, they're acting as a limiting factor. So they might start getting scared. So turn around and we're gonna choose our symbol. No hunters. Alright, choose your symbols, dears. Alright, go. So raise your hand if you read deer and you didn't find what you needed. Yeah. Yeah, so if you didn't find it, you didn't find what you needed. You're dead. So we started that round with 12 deers. Now we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We didn't lose any more. Well, 11 deers. So we lost 1 deer. Alright, turn around. We're going to do another round. Select what you are, and deers, select what you want. You're a resource now. You still select. So once you die, you become a resource. Just like in the wild, if you die, something's going to come along and eat your body, or you're going to decompose and fertilize the soil. Circle of life. Alright, everyone's got their symbols selected? Yeah. Oh, maybe.
Let's never play this game again.
Alright, so we started with 11 deer. Now we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Nobody likes you, bro.
Alright. We got 13 deer now. Alright, so everyone turn back around. So we've got very limited resources now. Alright, so everyone select their symbols.
Hey, stay tuned.
I think we're gonna die.
Deer select the Did we have any deaths? Let's find out. We got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, you count that. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we had 2 deer die. So we're starting to reach our carrying capacity. There's competition now. There's not enough resources for every deer to get what they need.
Until
11 deer. So you got 2 more rounds.
you had some wolves.
Everyone turn around. Select your symbol. Go.
Oh my God.
Alright.
No, you did. You did. You did.
At least we all die together and die again. Or girl power. Yes, we all die.
Alright, so we've got 13 deer though. Okay, this is the last round. So y'all select your symbol.
Oh, you died, you'll get no food.
Yeah.
Oh, so dead.
Go.
You've been dead.
I saw the Jason after me.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Until you've been dead, dude.
So we lost a
fuck away
lot
over there.
of deer that round. So we saw that there was not enough resources for
all the deers to live.
Get your
Started with 13, now we're down to 7.
Hey, record video.
Alright, so we're about to go back inside, but can you guys see how population size depends on the
Alright guys, so when we were playing our game, what do we think the limiting factors were for this activity?
The food, the
What were the
resources,
resources? So what were those limiting factors? What were some examples?
water, shelter. I don't know. Like,
Water, shelter, food. So what did we see happening in the population?
They first started doing good, and then like as they
Yeah, so when there was a lot of resources, we saw that there wasn't a lot of competition amongst the deer, and the deer population got to grow. But when our resources got depleted, the deer population shrank because there wasn't enough resources to support them all. So eventually they reached something called a carrying capacity. So you guys are gonna spend some time working on these worksheets individually. We're probably gonna spend about 10 minutes working on these. And this is just asking you to think about what we did during this game and think about those limiting factors and carrying capacities. So you guys can talk about it with your groups. You don't have to do it individually. You're just gonna write your name on one and turn in your own copy. Yeah. Huh? Yeah. So as you guys are completing this, just think about why it is that population was changing. It looks like you guys are doing a really great job. Most of you are almost done, so we may not spend the whole 10 minutes. Alright, so now that you all have had a chance to work on these a little bit by yourselves, let's talk about some of the things we haven't hit yet. So, during the game, the deer experienced some very good years. We saw that the population really grew at first. So what did we see happening right after that when it reached the largest population it had?
the deer had to kill each other.
Yeah, so after that, they maybe started to die off because there was too many deer. And why is that? There wasn't enough resources. So what is that called? Yeah, so carrying capacity is due to what?
Limited resources.
Those limiting factors, those limited resources. Whenever y'all get done with those worksheets, I will take those up. But I'm gonna go ahead and pass around these papers for y'all. We are about to make a poster really quick. It's not gonna be a long drawn out thing. It's just a real quick, basically a word wall thing. have those worksheets now. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make ourselves an anchor chart, or just basically a poster. So each group, I'm gonna come around and I'm gonna assign you a word, and I want y'all to include, first of all, the word. I've got my example right up here. So the first thing I want you to include is the word, and then the definition, and then you'll need to include a picture or a visual model. And the last thing I want you to include is like an interesting fact, or this could be like you could translate it into another language that you're learning, or you could have a real world example. So when y'all are doing your interesting facts, you could think about what might be a limiting factor in your community or environment, or how does this term apply to your environment around you. So I'm going to come around and assign y'all your words. And y'all will need a Chromebook. You can use your phone if you need to, but y'all talk with your groups and you can have access to the internet for this. Great, y'all's is limiting factor. Carrie has to leave. Do y'all want to be a group? Do y'all want to come sit right here? Okay. Alright, y'all can y'all will be population. Y'all will be biodiversity. How about keystone species?
Yeah.
Which one you want? Alright. Alright, so we're only gonna spend about 10 minutes on this, so this should be a real quick thing. Y'all can use your notes as well. So if we're using our phones, let's make sure that we're using it for academic purposes. Y'all make sure you write your names on this too. I want to know whose it is. And the picture can just be something that makes you think of this word. We'll see where you're at in 10 minutes. If you need someone, Like this is a real quick thing. Yeah, y'all can use the phones, the laptop on your campus.
I'm a senior, like a senior.
If you'd like to add some fun colors, we've got markers up here.
But you know who I am? I've had a passport.
What is church? I know it's
That's glaze. That's glaze. No, bro.
Wow. The red. It's not gonna fit right there.
Wait, Lauren.
Yeah.
I don't got it, bro. You're mad, nigga. I don't got it,
I get it, bro. Oh my god.
Cause he pointing laser at me.
It's a line with the word.
Alright, we are gonna wrap up this activity. I am gonna come up around and collect him. It's okay if you didn't finish every single thing. No worries. Guys. Marco.
Polo.
Alright, so we're gonna move on to the next activity. I'm gonna come around and collect those. It's okay if you're not done.
Oh shit.
So we are gonna transition into tic-tac-toe review.
Yeah.
So, alright, y'all listen while I explain this. We are gonna come over here into the lab. You're gonna be with a partner. You're gonna be in pairs of two. And there's two different sets of questions. So, if I'm this person, I'm gonna ask my opponent, my other two opponents, these questions. The answers are on these sheets. So if they get the answer right, they get to put an X or a no, whichever they choose. And then y'all are gonna trade You're gonna ask your opponent a question. If they get the correct answer, then they get to put an X or an O. Y'all are gonna basically play tic-tac-toe based on getting the right answers. So go ahead and choose your partner.
You mean a group?
I think we're just in groups of 2. We may end up with a group of 3, but let's start with 2.
Long corner right.
Y'all can be our group of 3.
I got you. I want to get one more person.
Alright, so go ahead and head over to the lab with your partner. Alright, and we're no longer on our phones. It's not phone time anymore. We have no reason to be on them.
Wait, we just had hold up. We did a whole time before now.
Please put them up.
Y'all head to the lab, please.
Alright guys, if you're not in the lab yet, come over. Find you a spot. Tristan, come on to the lab.
Can I get the order? You're not coming?
Yeah, you can get the water and come back. Thank you.
And you know that you're gonna ask them a question, they get it right, they can answer on there.
Alright, so let's see. Let's see
One of your first questions, they get it right, they're looking at. Get it
Y'all
wrong,
ask them
crash out. Hold that machine. Y'all have different questions. Okay, you just learned it.
Alright, so now
Ready?
okay, we're going first.
They have different questions.
Guys,
Y'all are going to get an answer. They put them in freezer and get an answer.
And
I think we're just learning this. Just try.
alright, so you guys are gonna keep going back.
Who's that?
Video win. Why you tell me?
So they'll ask.
Look, Jordan.
Are you a racist?
Hey, Mark. Oh, yo. Come on, bro.
Okay, cool. Alright, so y'all can erase it with this. And just
I asked my question. I get it right. I draw.
on the same one.
The same one. So if you're facing, you're facing the one of the.
Genius. We told y'all that.
But y'all can just split it with y'all already. So yeah, your team is for X. And now they get to ask you the question. Alright, so ask them a question.
How does this act as a living
Yeah, but no, so if it's killing all the population, then it's limiting the population here.
You got the same one.
What is population size? What did you say?
Y'all should have two different sets.
So why you got that big?
Alright, so y'all are just gonna keep going back and forth, asking questions.
Whole lot of I just said the right answer.
If you add everything up, you go to the store, you say your blank is $10.
Is there a lot or a little bit? That's all I was looking at.
It's like a printer that all the other ones, something like that.
Alright guys, we're gonna spend a few more minutes doing this to try to wrap it up. You got about 2 more minutes.
Okay, well, they do. You're still wrong. They don't.
You almost got it.
Define population.
What is competition? No.
Alright, we are gonna start going back to our seats. So don't worry about wiping it off, I'll wipe it off. So y'all Alright guys. Marco. Alright, this is the last thing I'm going to ask you to do today. So, take out a sheet of paper. It doesn't have to be a whole sheet. It can be the back of a piece of paper, sheet of paper. It can be any paper. You're going to write down 2 things you learned today and how you learned them. So, did you like the video? What did you learn from the video? Did you learn from the game? Maybe you like the tic-tac-toe? Just tell me what method of learning was the most valuable to you. That's really helpful for me. If you don't have a piece of paper and you need one, you can come grab one. I'm putting them on this desk. So today you guys were able to see how ecosystems and the organisms in those ecosystems work as a team. So small changes can have huge impacts. If you got it, raise your hand and I'll come grab it from you. I got one. I need one more.
Take K. You got 99 years of prison now.
He has 8 years. Well, they keep him 8 years.
There you go.
You like the tic-tac-toe? Hey guys, we're done for the day. If you haven't missed this, go ahead and